Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Casey. We take time out from a busy week, month, year to talk about some of the issues that are involved in the real estate market. And today, specifically, I want to talk about technology and how technology is helping buyers, sellers. In fact, it's everywhere we are. We went to a seminar or a big event where all the top producers are. It's called Real Producers. And there was speaker after speaker really talking about how realtors will be replaced or taken out. But what I want to do is I want to draw a correlation today and make sense of how artificial intelligence meets authenticated intelligence to help the buyers and sellers. And so let me give you an example. An example is you go to Zillow and you're looking at houses and it said this house is worth $850,000. That estimate is artificial intelligence. And it's done by an algorithm of many things. And it's done by people in Seattle or wherever they are. And they have to do millions and millions of houses. So obviously they have to come up with an estimate based on the data that they have. Well, then what happens is, so there's all this data out there. And here's the difference between artificial intelligence and authenticated intelligence. So there's all this data out there for pricing or for marketing or for any aspect of what we do in real estate. Sorry about that. I'm a busy man. They're calling. Spent a lot of money to make that phone ring. Where the hell was I? I was at the, we're going this way, right? I mean, we're at the point where we have artificial data or artificial intelligence and how it meets authenticated intelligence. So, artificial intelligence, Zillow, Zestimate, $850,000. Is that what your house is worth? Hell no, it's not what your house is worth. So, it takes a skilled realtor to authenticate all of the data. So they've done it with an algorithm. Now it takes a skilled realtor to take all that information and authenticate it, which means other things like how does the school district affect it? Is there a road around? Is that, is that neighborhood sell at a premium versus their neighbors down the road? So, maybe they've got a pool and somebody else doesn't have a pool. So what is the condition of the house? Is the condition of the house in extraordinary condition, ordinary, customary condition, or inferior condition? So what happens is we get data, and some of it is artificial data, and we crank all that down and come out with what we feel is authenticated data. So when we do a pricing model and we say the artificial intelligence says your house is worth $850. Now, why is that important? Well, buyers, if you're going to go buy a house and you're trying to estimate what you want to pay for this house, Zillow says it's worth $850,000, but the authenticated data says it's worth $900,000. So we don't want to leave the $50,000 on the table, okay? So I think that the worst thing about artificial intelligence is, and I'm going to say a lot of good things about it, but the worst thing about it is it cranks down data and it gives you a price that is not the price your house is worth. It is just what artificial intelligence says it's worth. It takes a very skilled person to authenticate the data. So basically, when you're looking for a realtor, you're looking for somebody that can authenticate data, massive amounts of data, because all of the technology we have gives us far more data than we've had before. I mean, it is remarkable about the data we can get right now. So what you're looking for is somebody to authenticate the price. Now, it's not only important for you to know what the house is worth, it's also important for the buyer to know what the house is worth, because the buyer and their realtor may not be good at pricing. They may be looking at artificial intelligence on what the price of your house is, but it's not $850, it's $900. I can prove it, and I can prove it 4 different ways. So when somebody comes into us, we do a lot of business. We'll do $80, $90 million or whatever it is a year. We never counter a contract. So let's say Michelle says, I'll give you $850,000 for the house. We're not going to go, and we're listed at $900. We're not going to go back and say, we'll counter you at a number. I just send you the authenticated data. This summary of pricing with comps shows and adjustments shows why we're worth $900,000. Perfect example. We had a home for $1.499 million. House right 3 blocks away sold for $1.25 million. It was on the market. It is the exact same house. It was just a brand new house. Ours is the same house. It sat for, it was 200 days or 300 days. Might have been 300 days. And they got 1.425. Guy walks into us and says, hey, same house, same everything. I'll give you 1.425 million. We sent him our authenticated data that says we're worth 1.499 million. And the reason theirs sold so low was because they first started up here, and by the time they got down to the normal price, it was too late. You know, so the realtor made a mistake. The realtor priced it too high, and the longer you, and I'm going to show you something here in a minute, and the longer it sat on the market, the lower the value got. So just because they made a mistake doesn't mean we're going to make a mistake. So our seller was saying, I'll take 1.45 if you can get it. And just hold on for a minute. So we sent them our authenticated data saying that their house was worth 1.499 million, and we can prove it. We prove it 4 different ways and did. So they came back at, I think it was 1.485. So they increased the value of their offer by $60,000. And this isn't one example. I can give 10, but we don't have that much time. How much time we got? I'll just give you one. They bumped their price or their value $60,000 or whatever just because we could authenticate the data. Authenticated intelligence. So that's the difference between artificial intelligence and authenticated intelligence. It looks like it should be worth 1.425. Not so. The reason, and let me bring up a chart real quick. Can you guys bring up that one chart, Julie? And this is the first one that has the purple line and the yellow line. That's the one I'm looking for. So the purple line, the one wonderful thing about today's intelligence and technology, it is crammed down the listing time period, or should be cramming down the listing time period, where if you see the purple line, that is homes, price per square foot of homes that sold within the first 10 days. So at this number, it looks like it's about $245 a square foot. Well, then if you look at the yellow line or the green line, those are homes that sold in 90 to 120 days. Now that is at about $219 a square foot. So basically what we have is the homes that sell quickly get more price per square foot. And so we need to be very thoughtful using this data, which is very important, that our time period is, we're on a ticking clock. The longer this goes, the less money we're going to get. So when we come out of the gate, we need to be priced right with an authenticated price. We need to be staged correctly, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And the third thing is we need to be marketed correctly. And again, we're going to talk about that today and how technology helps in marketing these homes. But we're on the clock. So if you look at the next slide down, this is our vision. And again, another great thing about technology, we can get on the computer and I can see who's on there. I can see how long you were on there, when you did. This is how many, let me pull up on mine so I can see. So in the first day when this came out, we had 35 people that were all over this thing. And then the next day it was 30 people, or 29 people. Then by day 4, we were down to 10 people a day, and then 5 people a day, and 4 people a day, and down. So technology means that they're out there, and they're looking, and they're very smart, and they're very educated, and they've been looking for a while, especially in a market like this, where we have limited inventory. So you have, in this case, we have 35 ready, willing, and able buyers that are on there just all over the place looking at this. Now this is coming from the Bright MLS, and this is new stuff. This is really, really good stuff. But it tells us that from the MLS system, that's how many people are jumping on board, okay? Now, what this means is days on market is extremely important, okay? You can't, in the 1980s and 90s, and you know, for those agents that think in the 1980s and 90s, they say, let's put it on for a higher price, let's give it some wiggle room, and we'll see what happens. That's wrong. So, you know, our buyers and sellers come to us and say, can you find us a realtor in another town? It's like, sure we can. And we have 3 ways of rating a realtor. So if you're thinking about listing your house, there's 3 ways you can rate a realtor. One, and one of the most important ones, is what is your days on market? What are the average days on market you have? So, you know, just for example, in this area, the way I would rate a realtor is set a threshold of 30 days. How many of your listings sell before the 30-day period is up? Because that's really the most important time. That's where we're going to get the maximum amount of A, money, B, the least amount of frustration. Because once today's buyers go on and look at it and they see it doesn't sell, those buyers are gone. I mean, they're gone. Or they're waiting for price drops, or they'll come out on their own and you'll get one contract, and then it's you and them, and you have no leverage. So the first thing we ask a listing agent, or you should ask your listing agent, is what are your average days on market? So how many of your houses sell within 30 days? Well, if the answer from your realtor, and you should ask for a sales report. We give a sales report at our listing presentation. Here's a sales report. This shows that 85% of our houses sell in the first 30 days, 85%. So what is the market average? The market average is 65%. So 65% of the houses will sell in that first 30-day period. So I would say that if you're 80 or over, you're an A. You're an A realtor. If it's 70%, you get a B rating. If it's 60%, you get a C rating, because the rest of the market's at 65. So you're no better or worse. I don't care whether you got a big name, small name, new name. You're no better or worse than the rest of the market. So I give you a C. Now, there are tens of thousands of dollars at stake when you sell a house. This one $3 million house we're selling, okay, the money at stake is $1 million. If he does it wrong, it's going to be worth $1 million in losses, and I can prove it, okay? So he needs to be very thoughtful on how the home is prepared, how it's staged, what he needs to put into it, where he needs to price it. There's a $1 million stake. Now for you, think of it as probably 10 to 15% of your money is at stake. So I saw a guy, let me give you a perfect example. House is worth $1 million. Real simple. Seller put it on for $1,050,000. All data said $1 million. All data said keep it under $1 million. The other technology piece, I see how many people are under $1 million, and I see how many people are over $1 million. So we really need this big buyer pool. So we go out, and you know it takes forever, and we finally get an offer for $995,000, and I almost demand that you got to take this, because this is it. This is all there is. So he doesn't take that. And he swims off, and the buyers swim off, and I leave. I mean, we just can't work together anymore, because that was it. The house sold for $935,000. So they lost $60,000 bucks. Now, had we gone out at $1 million, we have statistics that show that a lot of times you'll get in a bidding war. 80 houses we've done in the last 2 years have been in bidding wars, and we might have got $1 million, $1,020,000, $1,025,000, depending on how much people wanted to walk to Whole Foods and walk to Starbucks. I mean, it was walking distance to downtown Vienna. So we could have got ourselves in a bidding war at that level and got $1 million, $1,025,000, and instead he got $935,000. So how much money did that cost him? It cost him $90,000 bucks from what he could have had to what he got. So using all of this authenticated intelligence is critical for people to have somebody they trust and be able to rate that realtor and make sure that whoever's authenticating this information knows what the heck they're doing. So the next thing that we ask a realtor is, what's your percentage of, if you list a house, what percentage withdrawal? Well, 35% is usually what withdrawal. So that would be a 65% success rate for the average realtor. So if 80% of your listings sell, I'll give you an A. If 70% sell, I'll give you a B. And if 60% sell, I'll give you a C, and that's the rest of the market. So it's easy to rate, the realtors, and basically how many of your listings sold within 30 days, how many of your homes withdrew or sold, and what was, when you said it was worth $1 million, what did it sell for? So your authenticated data said $1 million. So what did your listing sell for? Well, the average is 97.5%. So on $1 million house, they're off by 25,000 bucks. That's not too bad. That's an average. So since 2017, we've sold $160 million worth of listings for $160 million, and we were off by $7,000 out of $160 million. So that's two 1/1000ths of 1%? I think it's 100.002. I think that's 2/1000ths of 1%. So the authenticated data, and the only reason I'm saying this is because I need to know if the model I use to authenticate this data is accurate. So if I say it's 165 and you list with another realtor at 1.9, I'm gonna keep an eye on that because mine says it was worth 165. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. So there's 15 houses I keep an eye on. Most of them have all withdrawn by now. The majority are sitting on the market, and then 2 have sold, 1 at below what my authenticated data said it was worth, 250,000 less than the list price. So the point is, when you're hiring a realtor now, you're hiring somebody to authenticate data. Okay. So and you know, as far as ratings go, send me your sales report. I want to know how many of your houses sell within 30 days. I want to know how many of your houses withdraw unsold. And I want to know what your list price versus sales price is. And that tells me that you're very good at authenticating data. Okay. Now, the second really big technology thing that there's a ton of information on, a ton of data. And again, this is why you can't replace a guy like Mike Filan, and I'll have him out here talking about mortgages. Because you could go to Rocket Mortgage, but all that is again, algorithms and pointing you in certain directions. There are hundreds of different mortgage programs and hundreds of options of what you can do. Do I get PMI? Do I not get PMI? You know, whatever. You need a top-notch correspondent lender. I think we've explained what that is. There's brokers, there's correspondent lenders, and there's banks. Don't use banks, don't use brokers, use correspondent lenders because of a couple things. One, loan officers, top-notch. They close their own loans, they have their own underwriting, and they can eventually, they warehouse it, and they'll sell it to one of a number of banks. But those are usually the best loan officers you're going to run into. And you know, the Rick Elmendorfs of the world, and the Mike Filans of the world, and you know, the Vicky Warnicks of the world. Those are all correspondent lenders. Okay, so they're your best. So they authenticate data and give you the best mortgage advice you can get. When we're listing, we won't accept anything but something from one of those kind of lenders. Because if you come in with a Rocket Mortgage, you're not getting that listing. You know, you're not going to get the purchase. So that's the technology of pricing and being able to track it. Now let's talk about marketing for a second, because that's where it's all going on. You'll see when I come to a listing presentation, there's a young person sitting right next to me, like Billy, who's late because he's coming in from Arlington, where young people live, and 66 got a few accidents. So when he comes in, we'll give him a standing LA clap and move on. But you see young people, why? Well, they are really up to date on what's going on, whether we're staging houses for today's buyers or new technologies all over the place, and they're kind of tuned into it. But you know, I have a full-time person in Julie sitting right over here, and Julie is, take this the right way, Julie is a beast on knowing what today's hottest way is of getting our listings out to specific markets. So let me give you an example. So let's take Facebook. We have your house. Well, first of all, let's go back to Morgan. Morgan walked in to join our company. I've been trying to get her to work with us for a long time, my daughter. She's very good, top flight salesperson. And she said, your website looks terrible. I mean, you're out of date, and yet I spent tons of money to look cool, but I did it 10 years ago. So I was 10-year-old cool. But today's hot new look and feel and how everything's got to be done and presented, she was right. You know, She's right. So we spent a lot of money. We did the whole website, so now it looked like 2019. But the people that benefit from that are really our sellers because now their homes look like 2019, the way we present everything. So it's that kind of thing. I mean, you get comfortable with something, but you don't realize that technology is moving ahead. And if you don't stay on the top of that crest, then you're going to fall behind. So it's almost like, you know, Julie and I are looking every year and going, now what are they doing? 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 So it's a constant evolution of trying to stay on the crest. And why is that? Why is that important? Well, I'll tell you why it's important. Because on homes over in Vienna, over $1 million, the average days on market is 119 days. Now, technology has helped us because 10 years ago, they were on for an average of 217 days. So now it's crushed it down to 119 days. Our homes sell in 17 days. Now, why is that? Authenticated data on pricing is a very big deal. It's probably 80% of it. And then you go to the technology of how do you package the house, how do you market the house, how do you get the most people into the house, and when they get into the house, can you authenticate the value of your house? So let's take Facebook, for example. People go on and they'll test pictures and say, well, this picture tests more than that picture, and I can get 15 click-throughs instead of 20 click-throughs. Well, what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, Billy Samson, in from Arlington. We had to come all the way in from Arlington. Good morning, Billy.
Sorry, 66 was a mess, guys.
I know, there's a... So basically...
Yo, hear me? Hello, hello. Check 1, 2.
Similar. What is that from?
I don't know.
That's from, huh? No, that's from the guy in the basement. No, the guy in the basement. You know, I don't know the guy's name. Well, it's Tom Hanks was the roadie for Aerosmith when they were on Saturday Night Live when in the basement with whatever that guy's name is. Somebody text in Julie on our webpage and tell me what that is, because that's really going to drive me crazy. Mike, I don't know, you know, the two guys that had a public TV show and they did it from the basement. Wayne's World. Yeah, no kidding, man. What are we? Give me another coffee. Wayne's. Yeah, I'm looking at these young guys going, come on, dude. You know, Saturday Night Live. Help me. Work with me, man. All right. So, I don't know where the hell we were. But anyways, so let's talk about the technology side now of artificial intelligence versus authenticated intelligence. So there's a million things you can do. One is Facebook. So you go into Facebook and you can test and do all this other stuff, and one picture looks better than the other picture, and that's very good. But if you target your market, let's say I want to do doctors. So Pat and I my brother and I had a $1.9 million house where nothing had sold over $1.5 million since 2012. That's going to be a tough sale, right? So most realtors are going to say, hey, it's going to take a year to sell this. It's going to be very da-da-da-da-da. So first thing we did was we priced it where it should be. Second thing we did was we identified who the buyer was going to be. I think this buyer is going to be an Innova doctor because Innova, you know, Mobil, Exxon moved out. Innova moved in. Innova's bringing these big doctors in that make a lot of money, and they like big houses. Well, that was kind of on a side of Fairfax where a quickest point is get right to Innova Hospital out there in Maryfield. So within 20 days, maybe 17 days, 17 days. So in 17 days, we sold it to a doctor from Innova Hospital, and we sold it for $1.885. We had listed for $1.895. So we're up by $10,000 on a $1.9 million house in an area that hadn't sold a house over $1.5 million in a long, long time, okay, since 2012. So the technology now will allow us to say, who is the buyer? Who is the buyer? And then be able to go out. I just come and tell Julie. It's like, Julie, this house was on for 265 days, couldn't sell it. I think it's a great looking house. It's a very wonderful house, but it's really meticulous and it's authentic to historical authenticity in the Williamsburg deal. We need a couple that doesn't have kids, a professional couple, very meticulous, very clean, very, somebody that has some historical significance. And sure enough, that house had set on for $264. We sold the house within 20 days to that exact same couple, and they paid $40,000 more than it appraised for. So when we talk about technology, and somebody's going to walk into your house and go, we have international MLS. We have magazines we put it in. We are in the Chinese Red magazine. We're in the Japanese Red magazine. We're in this, we're in that. So there are a multitude of ways to market your house. We have 3D boxes you can look at. We have movies we can do. We work with a big company, the #1 company in a Great Falls or McLean or the #1 off. What's your rating? How fast do they sell? How many withdraw? What's the list price to sales price ratio? That's all I need to know. So basically, again, when we go back to analyzing data and authenticating data, what works? What we found works, what we think works, is not just the Facebook, Instagram, and all, but in targeting the buyers the way we want it, hitting LinkedIn, let's talk about this for a second. We talk about artificial intelligence and where that's all around. I like it. I like Johnson Murphy shoes. So when there's a Johnson Murphy shoe sale going on, I see on my Wall Street Journal feed, Johnson Murphy has a sale on. I like that. I like people only giving me things that I care about. I like the untucked shirts. They make fat guys look better. So I like that, right? So I get a lot of stuff from untucked shirts or from, whatever, right?
Yeah,
we all see it. I'm cool with artificial intelligence. You want to know who I am? Here, look. Do whatever you want. Send me the right stuff, right? I drive some Yahoo car, Yukon or whatever. So, new Yukons are coming out, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, I like Yukon or whatever it is. And so I like to have information that I'm interested in, and the artificial intelligence does that,
yep.
Right? So I'm cool with artificial intelligence. And I'm cool that Julie knows who you are. And if I have a house that's going to go to a 32-year-old, a 38-year-old person, right, that Julie can target that person and just here's who the criteria is. It's so funny because like we'll go in and sit down. We talked to some person yesterday, and we're describing the buyer we're looking for. We literally described a buyer 15 years ago. Work in D.C., 30-something, 3 kids, da-da-da. So it's amazing how many times I'll go in and say, what I'm looking for? I'm looking for an attorney. I'm looking for an attorney because it's a historical house, and they probably, live in Georgetown or something like that. And the lady's looking at me, she goes, yeah, I'm a government attorney. I work in D.C., and yeah, I lived in Georgetown before I came here and bought this house. So it's amazing how many times. Now that is authentic intelligence.
Yep.
So it's authentic intelligence that I know who the buyers are, or Billy knows who the buyers are, or we, with all our data, know who the buyers are. And by the way, don't forget when we talk about marketing, Bright MLS and the people that have come to houses next to theirs, we can send information out.
We don't want to give that little.
I'm not going to give that nugget out, but I want people to understand how that technology helps them.
Right.
So, authenticated intelligence, who are your buyers? Artificial intelligence, Julie, package this up, go out, tell Facebook, tell LinkedIn, tell Twitter, tell all these people, and it's different things for different deals. I know one is at this, at Flint Hill, at Vienna Elementary, at something, and that's one way of doing it. And then I guess Twitter or whatever it is, you got hashtags. Okay, hashtag this, hashtag this. So So that's the way to get out to all of these different sources in doing it. But really, when you go back to authenticated intelligence using automated intelligence, here's another one. In the MLS system, if I sell a house for $850,000 right off of Woodford Road, I've got 240 agents that looked at that house, and I got all their email addresses. They didn't look at it, but they at least sent the house to one of their clients. So it tells me each one of you people had a client. Now, let me tell you how valuable this is. First of all, if I go out at 850 and I have 242 people come through, and I do a 900 and I have 108 people come through, how valuable is it to make sure that you get that house in the buyer pool that has 240 instead of 100? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if these 242 people like that house, they're going to love your house.
Right.
So right out of the gate, before we even start the coming soon information, goes to the 240 people that were interested in the exact same house down the road that said it. So if you ski your space, or what do you call it, ski your spot. In other words, if you know your area, if you know where you are, then you already have this data on who the 242 agents are that have clients that are looking for that house. Now, that's pretty serious stuff. Now, again, it's in the computer, and all you have to do is use it. But how you use it and how you get these people in, maybe that's why 75% of our houses sell in the first week. We just put on 8 houses in the last, so people ask us, is the market good or is the market bad? Well, we just put on 8 houses and all of them sold within 20 days, and the only one that didn't sell in 20 days, or the only one that didn't sell, first weekend,
5 days,
was because we said, put it on for $750. They put on for $775. Buyer pool $750, buyer pool $775. So we put on $775, crickets. He did $750, and we got all cash, no home inspection.
2 weeks.
Settled in 2 weeks. It's not rocket science. Well, I don't know if it is rocket science or it isn't.
Maybe it is.
I don't know if we are good at it or not good at it. I know we're good at it. But I think that how does technology help? Well, it also tells us this. Let's say we have a house that's $850,000 and it looks traditional. Pictures look traditional. And we have another house where the seller spent $6,000, $7,000 to get out all the traditional stuff, put in some nice carpets, nice lighting fixtures, nice plumbing, nice hardware, and spruce the house up so it looks more like 19. Well, I can go on and see that you had this many people looking at the traditional house, which means nobody clicked through. They all went like this. Next, next, next. But the one in transitional was up here. So, I mean, we see that data. We can see who's coming in. So when you talk about technology, what good is technology? It gives us vision. It lets us see. I know how long you came to that spot, how many click-throughs you had, how many pictures you looked at. So we have all this data. So if traditional is here and transitional is here and it costs $6,000, and spend this $6,000. Because we've found authenticated data, as opposed to artificial. Authenticated data is if you invest $1 in cosmetic items, you get back $6. If you spend $100,000 on capital improvements, you only get back $50,000. So when we're working with sellers, the intelligence tells us, the data tells us, only do cosmetic data. I mean, only do cosmetic improvements. Don't do capital improvements. So, when we walk in and we're guiding, and Billy and I told them that we were out yesterday, and the money on the table is $1 million.
Yeah.
Which it is.
Yep.
And I'll tell you how I arrive at that number. We authenticated the price at $3 million.
It's currently at 2.4.
Huh?
But it's currently sitting at 2.4.
It was built in 2004. It's had deferred maintenance. It looks like 2004. You walk in the door, it's 2004. It's got big furniture. It's heavy furniture. Everything's on the windows, so you can't see anything. It looks like you just walked into 2004. Now, if you have $3 million,
You're not buying a house that looks like 2004.
So the other agents came in and said it's going to be on the market for a year or two.
And
No.
you have to sign with us for a year or two.
Sign up for us for a year or two, we'll put it on the market, we'll see what happens. Now, the difference between it is worth that size, if we can get it in the right condition, it's worth $3 million. I just proved that. So at current, it's 2.4 million, and again, just because these are bigger numbers doesn't mean the same thing isn't true to your house. I know that $10,000 is important to you, right? But this is just kind of the extreme, if you will. So as is 2.4 million, so we're at $600,000 is at risk. Now, if you put it on the market and you have $3 million and it sits for 2 years, what is the time value of money of that $3 million? Well, at 5%, that's, at 5% of $3 million over a 2-year period of time, right? That's $300,000. So I would have lost, if my house sits for 2 years and I got $3 million at stake, I'm going to lose $300,000. So I've lost $600,000 minimum on the value because I didn't fix it up, and I've lost $300,000 for just sitting around. So here's the recommendation. Bring in a designer that can get this house back to 2019 shape. Bring in the Merrifield Garden Center, who, by the way, I trust very few people. Tommy McVeigh at Merrifield Garden Center is the best. And say, Tommy, I need this to look like a $3 million house today. I mean, not statues that, by the way, aren't to code. Right. And we got to get them out, and I would need you to decorate, and I don't want to see a patio that looks like it's at a $700,000 house. I need it to look like it's at a $3 million house. So if we invest $250,000, then we make back that $900,000 or $1 million. So that would be a 4-to-1 return on investment. Okay. So again, this is the calculation that goes on, and it was funny, and I'll tell you, I don't mind saying that the other realtor walked in and said, I'm gonna advertise in a Chinese magazine, I'm gonna advertise in a Japanese magazine. We're not gonna do anything to the house and put it on over $3 million, and that's why their average listing time is 317 days. So that's just wrong. I mean, that's just wrong. So I'm going to tell you, if you want to spend your time at Coffee with Casey, I'm going to tell you that the proper way to use the intelligence is trust. First of all, hire somebody that's good at authenticating your data, whether it's here or, I've got friends with places in Florida, for God's sakes, and it's been sitting on the market forever. You need to find somebody that can authenticate data and sell it. And I don't want to hear from anybody. I don't want to hear the term, well, these take a little longer than everybody else. Not correct. Not right. I go into McLean, $2.15 million house. It was on for 1 year with one big realtor, 1 year with another big realtor. I came in, we went to work on it. It sold in the first weekend, all cash to an Egyptian buyer that we targeted. I want to hear it. I don't want to hear that this market takes too long. Gainesville's another one, notorious. Haymarket. They say, well, they take a little, not so. Had a house needed to be sold, got sold. Had another one, its neighbor went on with us, under contract. Not so. You can price it right. You can use the data, get the correct price. You can use the marketing, target the right people, know who they are. Like, let's take Haymarket. Haymarket, people love, once they're in Haymarket, they're not leaving Haymarket. Once they move into Piedmont, they're not leaving Piedmont. So who's our number one source? Not doctors in Nova. People that live in Piedmont. People that live in that school district. People that rent in that school district. People that want to stay in that school district. So we find that, where did that buyer come from? Came from Dominion Valley. It was in Dominion Valley. Came from Dominion Valley. Friends. So it's just like kind of Franklin Farms and things like that. When people love a community and they have children, they need a bigger house. And when the children are gone, they need a smaller house. So some of them love the community and don't want to leave the community, but they're just moving up and down in the same community. So that is one audience. Mm-hmm. Technology tells us how to get them, how to get our property to them. The authenticated intelligence tells us where to look. Right. Where to look.
How do you use
things
the word?
like what goes into our thought process. Well, the average person commutes east to west from the major employment centers. The average person commutes 30 minutes. Extraordinary is more like 40, 45 minutes. Real extraordinary is an hour and 10 minutes. So is the buyer pool, so let's talk about Amazon's coming to town. Amazon's coming to town. Well, it's like if you obviously if you drop the pebble in the water, there's going to be a ripple effect. The first ripple is obviously going to be Arlington. How far is that ripple going to go? Well, the Vienna Oakton area is about 35 minutes from Crystal City. So that's pretty much where the ripple is definitely going to hit pretty good. Right now it's hitting Arlington and it's working its way out, but it's definitely going to hit that area. And then eventually some people there are going to want to or need to go all the way to Haymarket where the roads are opening up and whatnot. You've got the Dulles corridor. Somebody says, well, I got a CIA headquarters or a big CIA building is right here. I think the buyers are coming from CIA. It's like, those CIA people can get a house. I mean, your house is built in 1983. They can get a 2,400 square foot house from 1983 here. They can get a 3,500 square foot house that was built in 2010 if they go to Ashburn.
Right.
30 minutes. Everybody's willing to drive 30 minutes, get a nice bigger house, newer, bigger, more luxury, get a swimming pool. If you want to go to Percival, you get a mansion. So again, wherever the employment center is, Inova Hospital, come 30 minutes from Inova Hospital, that's how. Now, the more wealthy they are and the bigger they are, the more they pay for convenience or can afford to pay for convenience. So let's say I'm a doctor at Inova Hospital.
15 minutes away.
Right. If I make $100,000 a year, I might have to go 45 minutes away or an hour to get what I really need. But if I'm a doctor and I'm making a lot of money, I may only want to go 10, 15 minutes. Or I may only want to go maximum of 20 minutes to get that nice house in a nice neighborhood. And by the way, prestige is prestige. If I'm going to buy a $2 million house, I want it to be a $2 million house neighborhood. If I'm going to buy a 1.6, I want my neighbors to look like 1.6 or 1.8. So sometimes when we're dealing with houses, and again, let's go back to authenticated intelligence tells us that if my house is worth this and the rest of the houses, like if you come and have us at a listing presentation, you'll always see us say, the houses within 1 mile of you are selling for $600,000, you're $800,000. That's going to affect your price. That's going to affect what you're eventually going to get because people don't want to live around $600,000 houses if they're living in 800. Now, if you're 800 and you're living around $1 million homes, that's important for us to know. That brings you up. So it's not a part of artificial intelligence, but it is a part of authenticated intelligence. So all those things and all that experience is why no matter what they say at that convention, and it's so funny. This guy, I swear you wouldn't believe it. He was on, I gotta get this off my chest. I gotta get off my chest. I almost blew my head off. I really almost blew my head off. He talks for 30 minutes to 45 minutes about how realtors are going to be gone in 5 years, how about the brokers already know we're going to be gone in 5 years, and all this stuff just smashing realtors about how the bright system stinks. Well, I know that it's really good. I mean, it's got so much power. The charts we can get, the graphs, the amount of information, who can I send this to? It's an amazing, so everything he was saying I was disagreeing with, and I was really getting upset, more upset. So they said, you're off in 5 minutes. Well, 30 minutes later, we find out, he's still talking, we find out, this is a sales pitch. He's selling an MLS system for just us top producers. And if we put in some money, we can all just get in this. Are you telling me that I sat through all this abuse and all this stuff saying how we were going to be obliterated for 40 minutes? Oh, I was a show. Because I was on the speakers panel. I'm the next speaker to come up, right? Yeah, I'm not good at hiding stuff, like I was pissed. And bless her heart. You know, Kristen's trying to keep control of this, and I'm just I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk. I got something to say. So it was on, and Sarah Reynolds was there, and some of the, you know, and Khalil Al Ghul, who I was really great to meet him because he's really a really good realtor, and you know, because you may not know who the good realtors are, and you may not know who the good realtors, but I do, because Billy and I, we keep score. We know who the good ones are, and so I know who the good realtors are because, you know, we compete, and you know, and you got to know what their ratings are. You know, what is that? If a person that you're going up against, if their average days on market is 300 and your average days on market is 17, I got to let the seller know that. I just got to tell you, you know. I know you're going to get promised 1.9 million, but I'm telling you, this is what it's at. And if you go here, it's going to end poorly, very poorly. So, you know, Khalil, great guy, and actually Sarah Reynolds was good too. She gave a lot of stuff on, but that's more managing a realtor sales force. I don't want to manage a realtor sales force. What we want to do with our technology, I want to take 7 people, and the reason I have Billy and Kelly and Morgan and Pat and Pam and Colby and, did I miss anybody? Shannon. And did I miss anybody else? I have 7. I have 7, right? Because we're going to come in and we're going to use our authenticated data, intelligence, to tell you what your house is worth, what you need to do to improve it, who your buyers are going to be, what technology we're going to use. And then Billy or Kelly or the rest of them are going to make sure that every ounce of that listing is carried out. In other words, we're not leaving, you know. They're with you the whole way. And to be honest with you, I'm really bored. And I sit around and I don't, you know, I go to meetings, I set the price, I set the thing, and then they're so good, the 7 of them are so good, I don't have to manage them, I don't need them on a CRS, I don't need to track this or track, they're just very good at getting this thing done and getting it sold. Obviously the track record proves it. So, so I'm there if anybody needs me, but the objection I have is some of the bigger teams are more interested in how to use technology to manage their team. But I heard nothing about how to sell a house. So I heard nothing about technology on how to sell the house, or find the buyers, or target the buyers, or price the home. So let me be clear, and again, this is the first thing I said when I got up there in the panel. I'm like, look guys, pricing a house is 80% of it. All this other stuff is just magic and smears and great stuff and all. But if you aren't priced right, all the magic isn't going to help you. It's just not going to help you. Pat and I had a house that, you know, was out there, and their neighborhood, their neighbor sold in 200 days, and the rest of the neighborhood sells. It takes a long time because it's in a bad school district. And so we get a contract the first weekend, right? We got them. We get full price the first weekend. It's like, hey, work your magic. Come on, let's go. You guys got some magic. Work your magic. And I'm like,
that was the magic.
That was the magic. The magic was a full price offer in the first weekend, and then they're like, work your magic. Let's get multiple contracts. Let's make things happen. It's like, no. That is the magic. There it is. So, you know, the best you can hope for to get the maximum value for the house, which is what we all want to do. We all want to get the maximum value, is actually get it in the shortest period of time and show it to as many people as possible. And when you have 240 agents out of the gate that we already know they looked at that house, so they're going to love your house, so get them this information. Basically, those are the guys. Mm-hmm. I don't need to advertise in a Chinese magazine or a Japanese magazine who those 240 agents are with those clients. I get them right now. So anyways, I mean, I was more interested in learning technology to help people sell their house. And that's, I think, what's most important. So hopefully this show, and I don't know, guys, if I've missed something of the magic or the technology, but, you know, we could talk about, you know, and it's very simple. Our job is to take this mountain of data and crunch it into a filtered format where you have the authentic intelligence. So, but if you want to go back in and check any of this stuff. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? We can address everything in here because we've tried all of it. Because as professional realtors, that's what we do. Our job is to make sure that we've tested everything and get it out. So let me give you, I'm just going to give you an off the real estate deal, and this has nothing to do with technology, but it does have something to do with talking to the right people. I have a bad back. I've had a bad back now for 8 weeks. It really hurts. I mean, it really hurts bad. And I struggle to stand up. So I'll do chiropractor. I'll go do this, do dry needling. So anyways, finally, I go to my orthopedic guy, and he puts me on this and says, just go to physical therapy. The physical therapist will work it. I swear, one treatment of physical therapy, and it's kind of, it went from an 8 in pain to a 4. I'm excited to go back and get it to a 2 and a 1. But you know what? So here I am making the same mistake that sellers make. I'm trying to go off WebMD, Google. I swear to God, what do you do if you have a bad lower back?
Pray.
I got an egg in one hand, my left leg up, and I'm like, what the, you know. So anyways, I'm looking at all this stuff. Oh, go to my guy, chiropractor. He'll help you out. Now I'm walking like I'm a 90-year-old. Well, I just went on vacation. I walk around like a 90-year-old man, you know. I look like an idiot, you know. So anyways, one shot when I go, all right, you know, his name, you know, my orthopedic surgeon is Dr. Bryant at Inova, and he works on the Nats and the Redskins. He worked on Navy SEALs. Hey, talking about rugby players, he worked on Navy SEAls. This guy, all he did was shoulders and knees for Navy SEAls and fixed them up. So I call up Dr. Bryant, and I go, hey, man, can you help me? He goes, yeah, do the physical therapy. This is what you need to do, and da-da-da-da-da, in one shot, and I'm done. So why did I not take my own advice and go out and try and do all my homework on Google and WebMD and everything else when I could have just gone to a professional that authenticates my issue and tells me exactly how to do it? So we're all guilty of it. We all make the mistake. I'm hoping this helps. I'm hoping some of the information on this will help people. We'll keep this together. We'll send it certainly to our sellers. But that's why, you know, the bottom line is the bottom line. You know, if you list house for $160 million and it sells for $160 million and you're only off by $7,000, then whatever I'm doing or how I'm doing it is working. And let me tell you who it doesn't work for, and I want to caution you now. And I don't care whether it's me or you or whoever else you're working with. Don't try and be your own authenticated intelligence. Because when we go in, we'll tell them this is the data you need. But the 1 out of 10 will say, no, but they sold for this, and they sold for this, and we sold for that. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to authenticate the data. You need to advertise here and advertise here. So they're trying to authenticate the data, but they only do this once every 15 to 20 years. So I always tell Billy and all of our agents, I say, look, we're going to know whether this is going to be a good transaction or a bad transaction. If they're asking us for information, this is going to end very, very well. If they're telling us information and telling us how to do our job, it is not going to end well because they want to authenticate the data. And if they try and authenticate the data in their own mind, it's not going to work. I mean, Kelly and I were in a perfect example. My neighbor sold for $750. Why am I not worth $750? Well, he's 400 square feet bigger. He's assessed $40,000 more, and he's got a brand new kitchen and brand new bathroom, and your bathroom is from 1969, and so is your kitchen. So again, get somebody you trust, run the, and I talked about rating the realtors. Right. You have the 3 things to rate your realtor. What's your average days on market? First, you need to know volume. I mean, if they don't do $6 to $8 million a year, $10 million a year, you need to get somebody that does. So how many days on market is your average listing? What percentage of your listings sell versus withdrawn? And what is your sales price and list price ratio? That's it. And then once you have somebody that has satisfied those numbers and they have a AAA rating, where you're looking at it going, this guy's or girl, by the way, I got to apologize for something. I really do. Look, I'm not a bleeding heart liberal or anything. I don't want to get into politics or anything, but I really caught myself, or seller coffee, saying a statement that I'm going to stop, okay? So I always say, I got a guy for that. Electrician, I got a guy for that. I need a painter, I got a guy for that. I got a guy for that. I got a guy. I don't have a person for that. I got a person for that. Yeah. She goes, you got a person for that? It's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you got me. Because it's just something, I guess, it's just inbred. I said, I got a guy for that. I got a guy for that. And in fact, really it is. It's the same thing. It's like, I got a loan officer. I got a guy for that. Well, yeah, well, you know, Liz is probably as good as Mike, and Vicky Warnick is just as good. And so yeah, I'm trying to break myself. I'm 61. I sometimes get a little confused. So
I will actually mean a guy. I think it's just a saying, but yeah.
But
I
you
guess
know
it's
what?
2019, so you need to switch it up some.
Well, you know what though? I think that's a legit bitch. I really do. I think that's a legit bitch. If I was trying to compete with a bunch of people, and you know, you always say, I got a guy, I buy that. I buy that. I mean, there's a lot of competent people out there to work with, and you know, when we go up against other realtors, it's not a guy or a woman. It's numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I mean, your average days on market are really 300. Did you see that? See how I just got caught? See Billy catch me? But I legitimately am a business.
I'm getting triggered over
No.
here.
Don't trigger me, Billy. God dang it, Billy. No, I am a numbers guy. I'm not a numbers person. I'm a numbers guy. All right?
All right.
Elizabeth Warren's on the phone. She's calling.
She's calling you.
I got a problem.
PC Principal is going to be in here.
I'm a numbers person. So if I look at your numbers and your numbers are bad, it's bad. And the numbers, and the reason why we're here is because if you make a mistake in real estate, it does cost you 10, 15, 20, or in the case of the guy in Park Street, 65,000, you know, 60,000 bucks. Or the people in Lake Vale, it cost them 75,000. And you know, the way I look at it, or on the guy in McLean, it could cost him. He's literally teed up right this minute to lose $1 million.
Well, I got a text yesterday that one of the comps he's looking at, he thinks he's worth 3.7. So it's actually more than $1 million.
Yeah. Well, he's wrong on that, and I'll be showing it.
Yeah.
Because
we can go over the numbers. Again, we're here to authenticate data. So.
The good thing about it is and you know, the greatest technology of all, in my opinion, is the Excel spreadsheet. The Excel spreadsheet can analyze anything you want it to analyze, no matter how big you are, how small you are, how much money you're talking about. That Excel spreadsheet done in the proper format is an awesome analyst tool. So as far as technology goes, that's what it is. How much time we got? We good?
We're good. That's right on.
29.
Did I hit 10:30?
Yeah.
See, I got it. I got a little clock in my head. All right. Do you have anything else, Billy, from the seminar that we had on technology or any other?
No. William Hill's coming into Cap 1, so we'll all be able to gamble soon.
Who is?
William. I think it's William Hill, right?
I don't know what William Hill is.
Sports book.
Oh, geez.
Anyways, but they're bringing a big sports book into DC, into Cap 1.
Oh, great.
So anywho, we'll all be able to do that.
Well, now that you bring Cap 1, you know, you talk about, you know, our employment centers that are coming in. How's the market, good or bad? Look, I'm telling you one thing. You know, Innova, Capital One, everybody's talking about Amazon, the residual companies that are coming in from Amazon. But you got Microsoft in here. You've got a lot of these companies coming in. But Capital One is a big boy, man. And they're bringing a lot of people up here from Richmond. So you've got to know where your buyers are coming from. Again, if a person's in Tyson's, are they going to come? Let me give you a perfect example of this. And again, we'll get out of here because I know I'm over time. Cap One or very high-level executives are willing to pay for convenience. So Vienna would be a target. They don't want to get on that. No. Vienna would be a target. McLean would be a target. They can afford to spend that kind of money, and their convenience is more important to them than. But the people that would make $100,000 or $150,000 and that kind of, you know, they got 2 kids or 3 kids. They need to make that work. So then they need to push their way out. But so when I was targeting the house across the street from that house right there on Air Hill, we targeted high-level executives from Tyson's Corners that don't want to leave. They want to be in a nice house in a nice neighborhood and walk to downtown Vienna. So we targeted executives coming in. This is a perfect example.
Yeah.
And I'll get out of the air in a minute. This is a perfect example of technology. So I said, Julie, I need you to market this house to to executives coming into the Tyson's Corner area. And sure enough, within weeks, we had the head of Whole Foods who's coming in.
That was that one.
Oh, this one right here.
Across the street.
So this was sold to an executive from Whole Foods, big regional director, big guy. And this house, talk about data, this house appraised for 1.675 and sold for 1.775. And it sold $100,000 over appraisal because our authenticated data, I don't care what appraisers said, our authenticated data proved it was worth 1.775, and that's what we got for it. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the defending this authenticated data, there's a couple different ways, and I will say how important this really is. And all you realtors out there, you better be experts at pricing and defending your numbers. We said a house worth $1.25 million, a house sold for $1.2 million because it was in pretty bad shape. Not bad shape, but it needed some updates. So it sold for 1.2. The people came back to us and said, we want $50,000 worth of things on the home inspection report. Well, the house worth 1.25, you only got it for 1.2, so you've had your $50,000 discount. We're not giving it to you twice. Now, how many agents do you think, once they said it's worth, we want $50,000 on a home inspection, how many agents do you think would have said, can we settle for something in the middle? Can we do 20? Can we do 25? Can we do 30? It's like, we're not selling for, we sell that for furniture in the backyard, for lawn furniture, because we could prove, authenticated data, we could prove it was worth 1.25 and you got it for 1.2, so you've already had a discount, so go pound sand. They got lawn furniture, other than 50,000 bucks. So that's how powerful data, authenticated, is on every transaction. And now, so let's just go back again. I hate to run over. This gentleman that we're going to go see thinks his home is worth 3.7 million. Can you imagine if you put it on for 3.7 million, and there are realtors that'll do it, put it on for 3.7 million in its current condition, it's worth 2.4 million.
That's scary.
You're not going to lose $1 million. It's going to be more than $1 million because it's going to take you 3 years just to get to $2.4 million. So again, we're going to try and convince him that this is the price and this is the accurate way to go and this is the money at stake. And of course, if he wants to use his authenticated data, then he's going to lose. Then it's going to be one of those, I'm going to tell you what to do, not ask you what to do. So, and a lot of realtors want that $3.whatever million listing. I don't really need it. I got plenty of listings. We got plenty of sales. So, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll keep you tuned in, and we'll kind of follow this as see what happens here. But anyways, thank you very much for spending some time with us. I hope you got out of it the technology that you need to use in the real estate world and the difference between artificial intelligence and authenticated intelligence and how you use that, not just in real estate, but in other parts of your business. And hopefully that kind of tells the story of how this whole thing works. So thank you very much for joining us. Again, Michelle, this is going to be it for her. It's a wrap. She's moving to, where are you moving to? Oregon?
Still gonna be here, just virtual.
She's going to virtually be here. Again, technology is so great. You can go to Oregon. I could go to Duck and still do my work all week. You can go to Oregon and still be a part of the team and do what you have to do. And as always, Julie gets a quieter office now. She's with Michelle out in Oregon. But Julie, all of this technology, all of the help, all of these track records, all of these 17 days, all of this stuff is basically because, you know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, was it 8 years ago or 10 years? Was it 10 years ago?
It's been 10 years.
Has it been 10 years?
Yeah.
What an ass I am. I should be having parties for you. This success is due to Julie's ability to use the systems that are, the technologies that are out there, keep us on the wave. make us look great, and get our houses sold. So I don't think that the sellers, when they walk out, say, thanks a lot, I really appreciate it, understand who's really behind this, and that's Julie. Could we swing the cameras over here to Julie? And my rugby producer, I'm gonna have to ask your name about 18 times. Ethan. Ethan Allen. Ethan, our rugby player producer, a legend in Northern Virginia. But anyways, thank you for putting on such a great show. And it's this kind of technology. I mean, actually, we're on Facebook. We're going live. You know, you throw up a couple of cameras, and boom, you can get all this technology, all this information, everything out to your clients. We can wrap it up, put it in one nice place, and look professional about it. So thank you very much for what you're doing it. Billy, as always, thanks for coming out here and battling Arlington so you could, but
yeah, I didn't know it was going to take an hour and 20 minutes. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Well, but you know, the great thing about our team is the old and the new technology, the old experience, combining all of it together. You guys listen to what we say, we listen to what you say. We don't have to manage each other, and the beneficiaries are all the sellers and buyers. So thank you very much. I appreciate you.
You got it.
Kelly, I appreciate you very much, sweetie. You are awesome. Morgan, you're wonderful. Colby, you do a great job. Pammy, God love you. You're the best in the business. We appreciate that. Big Pat, my partner for 30 some odd years. I appreciate the love. Shayna, will you please get that kid in preschool and get back to work with us? All right, so we can get going. Did I catch everybody? Did I miss anybody? Yeah.
Thank you, Uncle Casey.
Yeah. The hobbling old man. I'm the little gremlin behind the computer going, let me tell you what that house is.
And if it wasn't for your experience, we wouldn't all be here. So.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you all. Now that we've had a Love Fest group hug, and we'll get out of here. We'll see you guys next month. Bye now.